Hello, I'm Divya A, Assistant Professor, ECE, AG Institute of Engineering and Technology, Bangalore. So today we'll be learning about optical receiver characteristics of Module 3. So I'll be covering the topics digital receiver performance, receiver sensitivity, and quantum limit. So in practice, there are several ways of measuring the rate of error occurrences in a digital data stream. A simple approach is to divide the number of errors occurring over a certain time interval t by the number of pulses transmitted during this interval. So this is called as bit error rate, and it is given by Ne by Nt, where Ne is the number of electrons and Nt is the number of pulses, which is also equal to Ne by B into T, where B is equal to 1 by Tb, where Tb is the bit rate. So, error rates for optical fiber communication system, they usually range from 10 to the power of minus 9 to 10 to the power of minus 12. This error rate depends on the signal to noise ratio at the receiver. To compute the bit error rate at the receiver, we have to know the probability of distribution. So the shapes of the two signal probability distribution are shown in the figure. In this figure, we can see here the shapes of the two signal probability distribution of pulse 0 and of pulse 1. So it can be represented in terms of equation in this way. That is, the probability that the equalizer output voltage is less than V when a logical 1 pulse is sent. So that is why the integral is from minus infinity to V. And similarly, the probability that the output voltage exceeds V when a logical 0 is transmitted. So here we have the integral from V to infinity. So the different shapes of the two probability distributions indicates that the noise power for logical 0 and logical 1 is usually not the same. So this occurs in optical systems because of signal distortion from transmission impairments. Example, dispersion, optical amplifier noise, and distortion from the non-linear effects, and also from the noise and inter-symbol interference contributions at the receiver. So the functions P, Y1 and probability of Y1 and probability of Y0 are the conditional probability distribution function. That is, probability of Yx is the conditional probability that the output voltage is Y, given that X was transmitted. So if the threshold voltage, if we represented by Vth, then the error probability Pe is defined by this equation, where the weighting factors A and B are the probabilities that either 1 is transmitted or 0 is transmitted. To calculate the error probability, we require a knowledge of the mean square noise voltage, which is superimposed on the signal voltage at the decision time. A number of different approximations have been used to calculate the performance of a binary optical fiber receiver. The simplest method is based on Gaussian approximation. In this method, When the sequence of optical input pulses is known, the equalizer output voltage is a Gaussian random variable. Thus, to calculate the error probability, we need only to know the mean and standard deviation of the equalizer output voltage. So let us assume that a signal S has a Gaussian probability distribution function with a mean value of m. If we sample the signal voltage level S of t at any arbitrary time t1, the probability that the measured sample S of t falls in the range of S to S plus ds, and it is given by f of s ds is equal to 1 divided by square root of 2 pi sigma square e raised to minus s minus m the whole square divided by 2 sigma square ds, where the sigma square is the noise variance and sigma, the square root of sigma is the standard deviation, which is a measure of the width of the probability distribution. So we can now use the probability density function to determine the probability of error for a data stream in which the 1 pulses are all of amplitude v. So as shown in this figure, the mean and the variance, so the mean and the variance of the Gaussian output for a 1 pulse are b on and variance is sigma square on respectively, whereas for a 0 pulse they are b off and sigma square off respectively. That is the here sigma square represents the variance. Let us first consider the case of a pulse being sent so that no pulse is present at the decoding time. The probability of error in this case is the probability that the noise will exceed the threshold voltage VTH and be mistaken for a 1 pulse. So this probability of error given by P naught of V is a chance that the equalizer output voltage V of t will fall somewhere between the VTH and infinity, and it is given by this equation, where the subscript 0 denotes the presence of a 0 bit. So similarly, we can find the probability of error that a transmitted 1 is misinterpreted as 0 by the decoder electronics following the equalizer. As per this error, the sampled signal pulse falls below the threshold voltage, and it is given by this equation, where the subscript 1 denotes the presence of a 1 bit. So if the probabilities of 0 and 1 pulses are equally likely, that is A is equal to B is equal to 0.5, then using equation 7.10 and 7.11, the BER or the error probability PE is given by equation 7.8, and it becomes this equation. So here the parameter Q is defined as mean of Gaussian output for pulse 1 minus mean of Gaussian output for pulse 0 divided by variance of pulse 1 plus variance of pulse 0. So here we get the error factor which is given by this equation, 2 by square root of pi integral of x to infinity e to the power of minus y square dy. So the factor Q is widely used to specify receiver performance, since it is related to the signal to noise ratio required to achieve a specific bit error rate. So the figure in the next slide, it shows the BER, uh, that is the bit error rate, how it varies with the factor Q. So the approximation for PE, here it is not visible, it is shown by a dashed line like this. Okay, so let us consider the special case when sigma off is equal to sigma on is equal to sigma, that is the variance of pulse 1 is equal to variance of pulse 0. It is given some value sigma, and the mean of 0 pulse is equal to 0, so that mean of 1 pulse, it will be V. So from equation 7.13, the threshold voltage is given by half of V, so that Q is equal to V by 2 sigma. So here sigma is called as the RMS noise. The ratio V by sigma is the peak signal to RMS noise ratio. So in this case, equation 7.3 can be written in this way. So by increasing V by sigma by root 2, that is, we are doubling the signal to noise ratio, the BER decreases by 10 to the power of 4. So thus there exists a narrow range of signal to noise ratio above which the error rate is tolerable and below which a highly unacceptable number of errors occurs. The signal to noise ratio at which this transition occurs is called as the threshold level. So in general, a performance safety margin of 3 to 6 dB is included in the transmission link design to ensure that this BER threshold is not exceeded when system parameters such as transmitter output, line attenuation or noise floor vary with the time. So to achieve a desired bit error rate at a given data rate, a specific minimum average optical power level must arrive at the photo detector. So the value of this minimum power level is called as the receiver sensitivity. So common method of defining the receiver sensitivity is as an average optical power in dBm incident on the photodetector. So alternatively, it may be defined as an optical modulation amplitude given in terms of a peak to peak current at the photodetector output. The receiver sensitivity gives a measure of the minimum average power or optical modulation amplitude needed to maintain a maximum bit error rate at a specific data rate. The receiver sensitivity is found from the average power, okay, that is contained in a bit period for the specific data rate. So receiver sensitivity is equal to half of optical power in pulse 1, which is also can also be written as signal current from pulse 1 divided by 2 Rm, which can also be written as Q into noise current variant in pulse 1 plus noise current variant in pulse 0 divided by 2 Rm, where R is the unity gain responsivity and M is the gain of the photodiode. So substituting for noise current variant in pulse 1 with the mean of short and thermal noise and noise current variant in pulse 0 is equal to the thermal noise, and solving for receiver sensitivity will give us this equation. So the quantum limit. So for what is a quantum limit? for an ideal photodetector having unity quantum efficiency and producing no dark current, it is possible to find the minimum received optical power required for a specific bit error rate performance in a digital system. So, this minimum received power level is known as the quantum limit. So, assume that an optical pulse of energy E falls on the photodetector in a time interval tau. This can be interpreted by the receiver as a zero pulse if no electron hole pairs are generated with the pulse present. So from equation 7.2, the probability that n is equal to 0 electrons are emitted in a time interval tau is given by probability of 0 is equal to e raised to minus n, where the average number of electron hole pairs n is given in equation 7.1. Thus, for a given probability, we can find the minimum energy E required at a specific wavelength lambda. So, this is the end of module 3. So, before concluding, I would like to say the summary of the entire module 3. So, we started the module 3 by discussing about the basic operating characteristics of heterojunction structured light emitting diodes and laser diodes. So the basic structure of these sources, which is a sandwich type construction of different semiconductor materials. So these layers they serve to confine the electrical and optical carriers to yield optical sources having high output and high efficiency. So the principal materials of which these layers are composed include the ternary alloy gallium aluminium arsenide for operation in the 800 to 900 nanometer wavelength region, and the quaternary alloy indium gallium arsenide phosphide for use between 1100 and 1700 nanometer. So the internal quantum efficiency with which these materials emit light and the various mechanisms that can reduce this efficiency depend on the following two principal factors. First is the non-radiative recombination of charge carriers at the boundaries of the heterojunction layers resulting from crystal lattice mismatches. So this effect can be minimized by choosing materials that have closely matched lattice spacing in the adjacent heterojunction layers. And second is the optical absorption in the active region of the device increases non-radiative recombination. This effect, which is known as self-absorption, is minimized by the constructing devices with the thin active regions. So when deciding whether to choose an LED or a laser diode source, a trade-off must be made between the advantages and drawbacks of each type of device. So the advantages of a laser diode over an LED are: a laser diode has a fast response time. Okay, and second is it has a narrow spectral width, which implies less dispersion. Then it has a much higher optical power level that can be coupled into a fiber. So compared to LED sources, some of the drawbacks of laser diodes are: construction of laser diodes is more complex, mainly because of the requirement of current confinement in a small lasing cavity. So this makes the laser diode more expensive than an LED. Second drawback is that the optical output power level of a laser is strongly dependent on temperature. This increases the complexity of the laser transmitter circuitry. So for a high speed long distance communication, one needs single mode lasers, which must contain only a single longitudinal mode and a single transverse mode. So popular single mode lasers include the distributed feedback laser and the vertical cavity surface emitting lasers. In the second part of module 3, we learnt about semiconductor, PIN and avalanche photodiodes. So these are the principal devices that are used as photon detectors in the optical fiber links because of their size compatibility with fibers, their high sensitivities at the desired optical wavelengths and their fast response time. So when light falls on a photodetector with photon energies greater than or equal to the bandgap energy of the semiconductor material, the photons can give up their energy and excite electrons from valence band to the conduction band. So this process generates free electron hole pairs called photocarriers in the photodetector. So when a reverse bias voltage is applied across the photodetector, the resultant electric field in the device causes the carriers to separate. So this carrier separation gives rise to a current flow in an external circuit, which is known as photocurrent. So the quantum efficiency eta is an important photodetector performance parameter. This parameter is defined as the number of electron hole carrier pairs generated per incident photon of energy h nu. Another important parameter is the responsivity R. So this is related to the quantum efficiency by the equation R is equal to eta q divided by h nu. So this parameter specifies the photocurrent generated per unit optical power. So speaking about avalanche photodiode, it internally multiplies the primary signal photocurrent. So this action increases receiver sensitivity because the photocurrent is amplified before encountering the thermal noise associated with the receiver circuitry. So the carrier multiplication M is a result of impact ionization in the device. Because the amplification mechanism is a statistical process, not every carrier pair that is generated in the photodiode experiences the same multiplication. So the measured value of M is expressed as an average quantity. So the performance of an avalanche photodiode, it is also characterized by its responsivity. So it is given by the equation eta q divided by h nu into m, or it can be written as R into m, where R is the unity gain responsivity. So the sensitivity of a photodetector and its associate receiver essentially is determined by the photodetector noises resulting from the statistical nature of the photon to electron conversion process and the thermal noises in the amplifier circuitry. The main noise currents of photodetectors are quantum or short noise that arise from the statistical nature of the production and collection of photoelectrons. Second is bulk dark current arising from the electrons and holes which are internally generated in the PN junction of the photodiode. Third is the surface dark current, which depends on the surface defects and cleanliness, bias voltage and surface area. The usefulness of a given photodiode, so it depends upon the required response time. So the response time depends on the absorption coefficient of the material at the desired operating wavelength. It also depends upon the photodiode depletion layer width and the various capacitances and the resistances of the photodiode and its associate receiver circuitry. So because the multiplication process in an avalanche photodiode is statistical in nature, an additional noise factor is introduced which is not present in the PIN photodiode. So a measure of this noise increase is given by the excess noise factor. So this parameter depends on the electron and hole ionization rates and on the carrier multiplication. The ionization rates also depend on the temperature. So there is a strong variation in avalanche gain with changes in temperature. So finally we discussed about the optical receiver. So we saw that the function of an optical receiver is to convert the optical energy emerging from an end of a fiber into an electrical signal. So the receiver, it must then amplify the signal to a large enough level with an appropriate fidelity so that the information content can be processed by the electronics following the receiver amplifier. So in these processes, various noise and distortion effects will be introduced, which can lead to errors in the interpretation of the received signal. So the three basic stages of an optical receiver are photodetector, an amplifier, and an equalizer. So the design of an amplifier is very important because it follows the photodiode, because this amplifier where the major noise sources are expected to arise. The equalizer that follows the amplifier is normally a linear frequency shaping filter. So in a digital receiver, the amplified and filtered signal emerging from the equalizer is compared with the threshold level once per time slot to determine whether or not pulse is present at the photodetector in that time slot. Various noises, interference from adjacent pulses, and condition wherein the light source is not completely extinguished during a zero pulse can cause errors in the decision making process. So to calculate the error probability, we need to know the mean square noise voltage that is superimposed on the signal voltage during the decision time. So because the statistics of the output voltage at the sampling time are rather complicated, so approximations are used to calculate the performance of a binary optical fiber receiver. So in applying these approximations, a trade-off is needed between the computational simplicity and accuracy of the results. So the simplest method is based on a Gaussian approximation. In this method, it is assumed that when the sequence of optical input pulses is known, the equalizer output voltage is a Gaussian random variable. Thus, to calculate the error probability, only the mean and standard deviation of the output voltages need to be known. So the two basic approaches of the design preamplifiers for optical fiber receivers are the high impedance and the trans impedance configuration. The high impedance design produces the lowest noise, but it has two limitations. Equalization methods are required for broadband application and it has a limited dynamic range. The trans impedance amplifier is less sensitive because of a higher noise penalty, but it has the benefit of a wider dynamic range without equalization. So this was all about the module 3. This is an assignment question. Explain the basic sections of an optical receiver with need diagram. Thank you.